This time we're focusing on women in the legal profession. I'm joined now by Laura Dlepu, co-director of Woza. It's an organization that aims to support women lawyers in South Africa. Laura, afternoon to you. Grateful for your time today. Let's begin first on the work that you do and why it is so necessary to help women lawyers in particular at the moment.
Good afternoon, Timbagi, and thank you again for having me. The Woza Leadership Academy was established when we realized that there were many gaps between our male counterparts and ourselves, especially in fields of specialization, areas of law such as intellectual property law, competition law, maritime law, areas of law that are still very male dominated. And so what our organization aims to do is to provide training, mentorship, and a community really where women can come together and empower each other to do better in the profession.
I'm wondering, Laura, about what it is that is keeping women out of fields such as maritime law. Is it that when you come in as newly qualified legal professionals as a woman, sometimes through mentorship or the management of a law firm, you're steered in another direction, or are there other barriers?
There are numerous barriers to entry for women practitioners, but practitioners in general. But because we're focusing on women, if I can just start with some statistics, as of August 2020, there were a total of 34,294 legal practitioners. And of those, only 13,770 were women, which is roughly 40%. And to break it down further, only 18% were Black women or women of color. So already in the profession, we are a minority. And what that does is that we don't have as many opportunities to specialize. And when we do come into traditional lines of practice, we're directed in areas such as family law, divorce, conveyancing, and not those very specialized fields of law because they are already male dominated.
Would you say then that the industry broadly currently is not open to transformation, or at least not as open as it should be?
Yes, it's not as open as it should be because the discussion around transformation in the legal profession is not new. One of my co-directors, Rahana Parker, has for many years, along with current Justice Margaret Victor, for many years they have been at conferences and discussions championing transformation in the legal profession. And we're still here now preaching the same thing. And I think what has emerged is women practitioners realizing that we should actually just create these opportunities for ourselves and instead of begging to sit at the table.
But then once you get the idea, right, to create the opportunity for yourself, how easy or difficult is that to do? Because it's one thing to start a law firm, but it takes clients to keep it up and running.
This is where organizations such as ours and what I like to call our sister organizations, because organizations such as ours have started to appear more and more in the last few years. They're important because we help each other. Not all of us specialize in the same areas of law. So for example, if somebody comes to me looking for work in intellectual property, I can say to the person, I don't do that, but I know another woman practitioner who does. If somebody's looking for a specialized contract that I'm not particularly experienced in, I can then refer them to a peer of mine who is a woman and give them that work. So the point of our organization and organizations similar to ours is to create a network and a community where we refer work to each other and uplift each other.
And it's one thing, right, to tackle transformation within the industry and speak to the heads of the law firms. But in terms of the big corporate clients, government, for example, has been criticized for not giving enough big briefs to Black law firms and women law firms. So are the clients themselves looking at women-owned law firms and going, on that basis alone, I don't trust it?
I would have to say yes. Of the law firm that I work in, we sit on several legal panels for state-owned entities and private companies. We'll sit on their panels for 3 to 5 years without receiving a single instruction. So I would say that, the bigger companies and state-owned entities definitely have their favorites, and they do tend to lean more towards the bigger firms and not as much the smaller firms or the women-owned firms or the black firms.
How long do you think it'll take us to turn this around?
I'm hoping very soon. I am aware that the regulatory body for the legal profession, the Legal Practice Council, has put forward something called the Legal Sector Code, which they have designed to essentially compel the state especially to brief smaller firms, black-owned firms, and women firms. And if that legal sector code is successful, it will do a great deal of help in helping smaller firms, especially women-owned firms, advance in practice.
Laura Dlepu, good to speak to you. Laura is co-director of Woza, an organization that aims to support women lawyers in South Africa. Grateful for your time on this Women's Day, Laura.